Hey guys, welcome back. So, in this video, we are going to discuss how exactly we can create virtual machine scale sets. So, basically, this virtual machine scale set is equivalent to Amazon Web Services auto scaling group. So, generally, what we can do, we can take multiple EC2 instances and we can add one load balancer on top of it to give a single point of contact to that multiple instances. So then we can configure a desired count, or based on the load on the TC2 instance, we can scale up, we can scale down. Technically, it's a scale in, and we can perform scale out. We can define a minimum count and we can configure maximum count, right? So how exactly we have auto scaling group? In similar manner, in Azure, we have virtual machine scale sets. So group of EC2 instances you can take, and the advantage with this virtual machine scale set is it's a group of load balanced VM. So we can define a desired count, the specific number of VMs we require to deliver our application, or we can even define based on the load. When load is high, I want to run my application with 4 VMs or 10 VMs or 20 VMs. When there is no load at all, I want to run my application with only one Azure VM. So we can configure dynamic scaling or manual scaling. Right. So the advantages, as you know, easy to create and manage multiple VMs that deliver same application. It provide high availability and application resilience. So how it is going to provide high availability? So basically, these virtual machine scale sets, we can scale across multiple availability zone. So I want to have one VM in one availability zone, another VM in another availability zone. So we can configure it. All right, and this supports even 1,000 VM instances also. And that too, we without any manual intervention, based on the actual real world load, we can add resources, we can remove resources for the application we are delivering from these VMs. All right. So now let's jump in and let's see how we can create these virtual machine scale sets. So you can navigate here and you can search for virtual machine scale sets, or else you can find that here I recently used it. So I can go and I can choose that virtual machine scale sets. So click on create. So this is almost similar to a VM launch only. So but it have some options like scaling and health, and we can also add a load balancer also. Now I'm going with the free trial subscription only, and I'm going with the compute RG, the one we are using from previous videos. And what exactly name you want to give? Um, I'm going to call this as my app scale set is the name I'm giving here, and I'm going to create it in um, Central India. And availability zone. So if you select zone 1, all the VMs you are going to launch as part of this scale set will run within only one zone. If you select two zones, it automatically spread across two zones. If you want, you can even select the three zones also. And the orchestration mode, if you are selecting uniform, the selected configuration only will be used whenever any scale in or scale out actions are trigger. If you are selecting flexible, it will pick multiple virtual VM types. We are good with uniform for now. I'm going to use CentOS, and I'm going with BS1, and I'm going with the SSH key, the one we are using from previous videos, the one I already created. So I'm going to select it. And one thing you need to modify here, by defaultly, whatever the VMs you are going to create in this virtual machine scale set, those VMs won't get public IP address. By default, it gets only private IP addresses. And also by defaultly, it will try to create a new virtual network. If you don't want to create a new virtual network, if you want to use the regular compute RGVNet, so then you can go and select it, or you're good to select a new virtual net also. I'm going with an existing one, and scroll down, you can see here create public is set to no. That means what are the VMs we are going to get as part of this VM scale sets? It will contain only private IP addresses, not the public IP addresses. I want to allocate public IP address, then click on edit. So then scroll down, and I'm going to open the required ports. I'm going to open SSH as well as port number 80, HTTP. Public IP address, by default it's in disable. I'm going to enable it, then click on OK. So we're done with the networking part. Now, how many VMs you want to launch? So for that, you go to next tab called scaling. You can see that here, initial instance count. I want to start the scale set with 2 VMs. And if we want to manually modify this value, you can you have an option to modify this once this VM scale set got created. So if you are looking for automatic scalings or dynamic scaling, then go with the custom. So what is a minimum count and maximum count? So then when do you want to trigger a scale out operation? Scale out is nothing but, so our application is not running with enough resources. Existing VMs are running with high utilization, so it's not able to handle all the traffic. So then what do you want to do? Obviously we want to add more resources, right? So for that we can. So whenever the existing resources CPU threshold is hitting 75% or more, so for a specific 10 minutes duration, so then I want to increase this desired count, initial instance count by 1. So whenever there is very, very less usage, like the VM CPU threshold is 25% for 10 minutes, then I want to decrease that by 1 instance. So we can choose that here scale in and scale out option, or you can go with the manual. I'm going with the manual now. So we are going to get 2 Azure VMs, right? Every individual VM will have a public IP address, but how we can give a single point of contact for this? And you want to distribute load across these 2 VMs. Otherwise, like, you need to give public IP address to some set of user, another VM public IP address to another set of user. So that's not a suitable solution. So instead of that, what we can do is we can add a load balancer on top of this. So for that, navigate back to networking. I'm going to use this option, use a load balancer. Seems there is an issue with, you can disable public IP addresses. All right, I'll um, do one thing. I think I have some resources. I'll change this initial count to 1. It should accept for now, and I'll go back and I'm going to modify it. So no issue with that. So I'm going to select use a load balancer, and I'm going to select load balancing options, Azure load balancer. And if you want to create automatically, it creates a new load balancer. If you click here, it will tell. So you want to give any domain name label, so you can give that, and what mechanism it is going to use, you can select that, then click on advanced option. So I'm taking these EC2 VMs. So, but I want to get a output, right? So in one of the previous video, I have already explained what exactly this custom data is. Now, I'll use one custom data. This is what my custom data. All right. Even you can remove the sudo space SU also. No issue. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to use that here. So basically this script will install HTTPD package. It will start the HTTPD service. It will make that service as a logon service. And it is going to generate a small script like this is a user data web page from. So then it is going to pick that VM host name and it is going to write that output to a file uh, in uh, var www.html location into a file named index.html. So then click on review and create. All right, now it is performing validations. So validation is passed, and so because of that IP limitation, right? So we can have only 3 public IP addresses whenever we are under free subscription. So scroll down and click on create. So now virtual machine scale set is going to create, and the deployment is in progress. So meanwhile, I look about that public IP issue, right? Let's go to VNet. There is the resources. Let's navigate to resource groups. This is a resource group we are launching. And now navigate to resources. Seems I'm not really using this public IP address. So let's go and delete this. All right, remaining all I'm using. Okay, the deployment is still in progress. All right, so the scale set is now created. Navigate to go to resources. All right, so here we got a public IP address. So basically this public IP address is a load balancer public IP address that we put as a front end. All right, so now you can observe here 1 out of 1 is succeeded, and if in left pane you can find instances, how many instances are running within this scale set. So this is the instance. So when you click on the instance, you can find a public IP address. Just grab the public IP address, test, and you can see that this is what the output. So this is a host name of that particular instance. Now so again, as I told you, we are going to get a public IP address for this, and you can find that this is a public IP address. To double check, what we can do is we can go to load balancers. Under load balancer screen, you can find my app load balancer here, and you can find the public IP address of this load balancer. All right. So now you can navigate to backend pools, and here this is a pool. Within this pool, so one instance or one virtual machine is added. Now let's navigate to this scale set. I decided to increase the scale set count to I decided to increase the scale set count. So for that, in left pane, we can find scaling. So I just want to confirm before that, we have one instance or VM running in this scale set now. Navigate to scaling. So change this instance count. Manually, I'm making it as a 2. Then click on save. So immediately, so this scale set will create a new instance. You can see that here immediately it is started creating a new instance, and that will add it to the load balancer, and whatever the public IP address we have, we got here, the same public IP address will deliver. You see that now it is delivering. So basically it uses a round robin mechanism. So if your browser is configured with the caching option, so once request is delivering from one of the VM, so all traffic will go to that particular VM only. So technically it's a kind of, there is a mechanism called stickiness. So from this browser, the session is going to stick to that particular VM. So now you can observe two VMs is part of this scale set. What happened if we delete one of the VM? So when we delete one of the VM, automatically this value is going to decrease. If you want to increase it, you can simply go here and you can increase this value. All right. So when compare this with AWS, so I can say AWS, auto scaling, the manual scaling option have an advantage. If we are setting our desired count as a 2, so if any of the VM got deleted, AWS will create another VM automatically. So basically, it always try to match our desired count with the configured current value. If our desired count is 2, but if we have only one running instance, so auto scaling will add another instance automatically. But here in Azure, so if you terminate one, so the value is going to change. Now you see here we have two uh, instances or in running state within the scale set. Just to double confirm, you navigate to load balancer, go to backend pools. You can see here both the VMs instance 0 and instance 1 both are here, and both we can access by using this URL. Now you can see request is going to the 1. So that is another instance. So if you go here, if you delete, yeah, you can delete it. So as I told you, so now the scaling value is changed to 1. Immediately, if you want to make it 2, you can go and do that. You just need to click on save. So in similar manner, if it is a manual scaling, you manually need to adjust the value. All right, so that is virtual machine scale set option. All right, thanks for watching. Thank you guys.